And for more on this, we're now being joined live by Shikha Mukherjee. She's a senior journalist from Kolkata. Thank you so much, Ms. Mukherjee, for taking the time out for us and joining us on the broadcast. Now, today's swearing-in is more than just a ceremonial transition. It marks the end of nearly 15 years of Mamata Banerjee's political dominance in Bengal. Now, how much of this verdict was a vote for change and governance? And how much of it do you think was a rejection of the political violence and polarization that has increasingly come to define Bengal politics?
Well, it's anti-incumbency on the one hand and the SIR effect on the other. I have maintained this for some time, that the anti-incumbency issue specifically starts with the most critical element of the anti-incumbency issue was the abuse of power by the Trinamool local leaders and their bigger leaders as well, at the level of ministers, which impacted the everyday lives of people, be it in the petty issues of day-to-day entitlements, delivery of benefits, just something simple like an entitlement to water and electricity and housing and prioritizing all kinds of everyday things, to the point when you have the teacher scam, when there is a cash for recruitment scam, and then you have the issue of massive misgovernance as it was defined by the Ideological Medical College and Hospital, rape and murder of a junior doctor. All of this is covered by anti-incumbency. So there was a very strong element of anti-incumbency. There was also an SIR effect of deletions and exclusions and the mysterious ways of the election commission, which simply couldn't get things done on time. Even after they were asked not to rush through it, they still couldn't get their act together. And 27 or 34 lakhs, it's a disputed figure, have been left out of the vote of the electoral roll. In other words, they did not vote. So deletions, exclusions, effectively temporary or permanent, I do not know, disenfranchisement of voters, plus anti-incumbency, and the appeal of the BJP as a strong and powerful party that can contain and defeat the Trinamool's own capacity to dominate its stuff through violence, through an organization which, however disorganized and chaotic, nevertheless exerted immense control through a process of intimidation and fear.
Right, Ms. Mukherjee, those are some fair points, but I'm also curious to know, how are you reading into this cabinets which have been inducted and the 5 ministers who've taken oath along with Shuvendu Adhikari just moments ago?
5 ministers plus Shuvendu Adhikari. Very interesting. First and foremost, and this is, I think, is going to pique or tickle a lot of voters in West Bengal and across the country, which is that Dilip Ghosh and Agnimitra Paul are both deputy chief ministers designate. In other words, they are stepping into the shoes of former Chief Minister Buddhadev Bhattacharya when he was Jyoti Basu's deputy. Now that's an interesting bit of history that I think is going to tickle a lot of people. The thing is, Dilip Ghosh, Agnimitra Paul, both of them come from, there is, the area of Midnapur has a very strong representation. Ashok Kirtania, who is a minister, belongs to the Mathua community, a core vote bank of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Nishit Pramanik, very, very predictably, is the face of the north of the BJP in the north critical area of North Bengal, from where the BJP almost swept every seat. that was contested. And then except when they came to Malda and Murshidabad. And then you have the tribal face. So you have the woman face, you have the tribal face, you have the Matua face, you have somebody from North Bengal, and then you have Shubhendu Adhikari and Dilip Ghosh. Why do I refer to them? Because Shubhendu Adhikari is, quote unquote, a new BJP. He defected to the BJP from the Trinamool in 2020. Dilip Ghosh, on the other hand, is old BJP. He's from the RSS, and he was asked to take over charge in West Bengal at a particularly critical moment for the BJP. So it's a fascinating composition in the sense that you have you have the old and the new represented, you have the woman represented, you have the core vote bank of the Matuas represented, you have Nishit Pramanik from the north, and then you have the tribal face, all of which were the key elements that together worked the magic for the BJP.
Absolutely. And while we'll have to see how citizens are going to take to Dilip Ghosh and Agni Mitra Paul, what has also tickled our fancy is the TMC, which has been reduced to just 80 seats, and its leadership is facing immense, legal and political pressure. Now, do you see the party surviving as a cohesive unit, or do you think we can also possibly see a total collapse on that front?
See, total collapse is something that is very unpredictable, and I wouldn't like to even go there. But yes, the party is going to find it difficult to hold on to its leadership and therefore its ground level supporters, because the BJP is going to be the obvious attraction. If you look at how let me be very honest. Let me point out two things. One, that for the first time in 50 years, West Bengal has a double-engine government. Since 1977, the left was in power for 34 years, and the left has obviously never been in power at the center. Mamata Banerjee fierce fights with everybody, from the Congress to the BJP. And now you have the first double-engine sarkar in West Bengal in 50 years. That's a huge change. And sorry, I've lost track of the question.
No, Ms. Mukherjee, I just wanted to know from you that can we see the opposition as a cohesive unit still? Yes. Yeah.
See, the Trinamool, when the Trinamool came to power, it created, or just around the time that it came to power, the Trinamool created, and that's the 50-year reference actually. 50 years, for 34 years, we hadn't seen defections in West Bengal because the CPM was averse to picking up, well, later on it did, but in very small numbers. The Trinamool came and there was this rush to join the Trinamool and sort of abandon the sinking ship of the CPM or the left. Then you have the BJP. In 2021, there was a rush to join the BJP, including Shubhendu Adhikari for one. And that was also anticipating that the BJP would come to power in 2021. It didn't happen, but it's happened now. And the sort of portability between parties, which during the 34 years of the left rule was frowned upon, it was taboo almost. That changed in the Mamata Banerjee's 15 years, and that's again going to repeat itself in the new era. So I think West Bengal is going to see quite a few shifts and changes from the Trinamool to the BJP.
Right, and the BJP has repeatedly framed this victory as, Bengal choosing development over fear. While the TMC continues to allege electoral manipulation and has refused to fully accept the mandate. And with tensions already spilling onto the streets after the results, now what are the immediate challenges that you think are there before this new double-engine sarkar in restoring the political trust and also ensuring that Bengal does not remain trapped in this cycle of, revenge politics?
Well, I don't know about the cycle of revenge politics, but for this particular government to um, restore normalcy as you described it is going to be very difficult. And because look at it, look at one thing: you have 28%, 27 to 28% Muslims in West Bengal. The BJP has not one MLA who's Muslim, and therefore the cabinet is not going to have a Muslim minister. So when we are talking about how the BJP is going to balance its representation and power distribution of power in the cabinet, that is going to be one constraint. The second thing is, yes, the BJP government has a priority. The priorities are very, very clear. They spelled it out yesterday. They spelled it out in their manifesto. One, zero tolerance for Ghuspetia. Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, yesterday also said the same thing. They want an end to violence, but the problem is that the tension and the violence is right here, happening right now.
Right.
Why? Because of this intense communal polarization between the Hindutva agenda and the Muslim population. And this is a very dangerous and explosive situation. It is Mr. Subhendu Adhikari's job to ensure that this doesn't go haywire, but the problem is that he has his own constraints, and he has the restrictions that come with the kind of politics that the BJP has done here in West Bengal and outside of West Bengal. We've seen it across the country, and that is going to be a big, big problem. Yes, development is an agenda, but the problem with the West Bengal government is that the BJP will have to find money, or it will have to funnel money from the center, for which they will either need a special purposes vehicle, which they will have to set up, or I don't know how they're going to manage it.
Right, and just to take your point a little further, now Subhendu Adhikari's rise that carries enormous symbolism from being Mamata Banerjee's closest aide to now replacing her at the top. And beyond the optics, what does this political shift tell us about the changing social and ideological mood of Bengal, a state that has historically resisted this BJP's brand of politics?
Well, it suggests that in West Bengal, there was a strong support for the BJP's agenda, which was very, very specific, that the Muslims were not the controlling, had no major role to play in a state which was 70% Hindu. And then you have the demographic change narrative, you have the Muslim infiltrator narrative, changing the demography of the border districts. So it's very, very simple. Mr. Subhendu Adhikari, as before he became chief minister, and hopefully he will abandon that rhetoric, kept saying that, I will stop West Bengal from becoming Western Bangladesh. No Muslim voted for me in Bhawanipur. I made sure that I didn't get a single Muslim vote. So he has this very, very aggressive position on where the Muslims ought to be in a state which has 27 to 28% Muslims, and they are not restricted in just in a few pockets. They're all over the place. So Mr. Adhikari has, through his own rhetoric, through his own aggressive statements, created a situation where he will have to deal with it as chief minister. And I guess all of us will have to wait and see how he deals with it.
Absolutely, Ms. Mukherjee. We'll have to wait and see how this new government tackles those challenges and takes it ahead from there. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you. Thank you.